All right. Welcome, everybody, again to another Esportian interview. You guys know the process. We sit and we talk to leaders within the collegiate esports space. Sometimes with players, coaches, directors. We learn about their process. We learn about their mindsets, right? We get tips and tricks. Today, we're sitting with Drake Richards. Drake is the director of University of Alaska Fairbanks Esports program. Drake, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you, Michael?
Oh man, it's I don't know if I know we're on two different sides of the world. It's finally getting nice out here and the weather's starting to come out. I'm sure you might be in a different position, but how about yourself?
It's been good. It's actually getting quite a bit warmer out, which sounds like, oh, it's 40, it's 50. I think it's about 10 degrees outside, which is pretty good for us. I mean, it's been a
I would
cold
say
year.
probably normal.
Yeah, it's been colder than normal. Like usually we're in like the 20s come March, but with February was pretty brutal. So I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Awesome. And as you know, right, today's conversation for the viewers who will be tuning in, we're gonna talk about recruitment. As
Hmm.
me and you are both aware, and people from the outside, if we were to talk about the biggest upcoming need when it comes to collegiate programs, it's hey, where's my next best student going to come from in 2025,
Totally.
2026? A lot of these directors have no clue. So I think it's a really good job to start sharing ideas, inspiration, strategies around how different programs are doing recruitment and strategies around that. And I think what's going to be so interesting about this interview, Drake, is Alaska, right? You are definitely in a different area. You're definitely have completely different challenges, and probably you have benefits that nobody else has that you guys get to work with. I know one for you is your scholarships that we talked about in our first conversation. So that's something I think will be just interesting for the viewer. It's like, yeah, we talk to programs all the time, kind of very close, and it's like, well, what does it look like for Alaska, right? So I was hoping to get that out there, but if it's okay with you, I'd love to start with just I think it's a good general intro question to your program, which is how does
Mhm.
the University of Alaska Fairbanks approach to student recruitment differ from other universities? And I think a great way to talk about the answer is just playfully explain how you do your recruitment, right? And then how is
Mhm.
that different, right? And maybe it's the same as everybody else, and that's what we need to know.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. When it comes to, I think just about every university, you're looking for students that are really strong academically, really strong in whatever game they're competing in, and thrive socially in whatever college you're recruiting from. And obviously, that last part's a little different from us because we are so out there, right? We're very far north. We are located in interior Alaska, which is about 6 hours north of Anchorage. And it's a gorgeous environment, and it's the Arctic. It's very different than a lot of our colleagues in other universities. So that definitely immediately is a factor. That some students are like, no, I would never do Alaska, and that's okay. That's totally all right. We want to make sure that any student that does come to UAF, Alaska is a good fit for them. And kind of with that, I think the biggest, I guess I'd say edge, or like the biggest thing for us that I like to mention is the financial affordability of UAF.
Mm.
UAF is, even before scholarships, comparing to many colleges, UAF is one of the most affordable schools in the nation.
Wow.
And when it comes to scholarships, before even getting into the esports scholarships, I think the most notable one to talk about is that for out of state students that maintain a 3.8 GPA or higher, you will immediately get a massive scholarship that will essentially cut any tuition off the gate in half. Um, and that alone is a huge deal, right? And then you can factor on our esports scholarships with any other scholarship opportunities that are available. And we'll work with you to find those scholarship opportunities. It's a complete possibility to come into UAF to play, to do esports in the collegiate scene with a tuition that is either significantly cut or potentially even a full ride. And that makes it so that for students that are the right fit for our college, we're not only just giving you a great college experience, but we're giving you a financially strong one that will save you from the potential mountains of debt that you get at other universities.
No, that's so interesting. And when I think of maybe how a program like yours, right, to get more detailed in this question, it could differ, right? I'm thinking of that aspect of recruiting in state versus out of state, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at it, we go to Ohio State. I'm sure they probably have a little bit more options than you, right? When it comes to, hey, we can pull for from neighboring states. How does that work
Right.
from you? My assumption is maybe Alaska is like, hey, we're just focused on what happens around us. We want to find students, or maybe your administration's like, no, we need to get people from Florida. And that's where that push in esports came in.
Yeah, totally. And I think that, I mean, I was amazed when I learned this. But when it comes to out of state, the biggest populations of out of state, I believe, were Washington, which makes total sense. And then I believe it's Florida and Texas, which I heard that and I was like, Florida,
Wow.
that's so far away. But I think a lot of the people that live there were so tired of the heat that are like, get me
That's
as
crazy.
far north as you possibly can. And they love it. They thrive. So those are definitely kind of hotspots that we hit rather than getting for neighboring states. We, of course, value Washington because that's the closest, and it's pretty common for people in the Pacific Northwest to visit Alaska decently often. So Pacific Northwest, absolutely a hotspot, but then we also target those areas too because that just naturally has a higher rate of interested students.
And how does that, I would love to learn, like, what does that administration involvement look like? Is it special in Alaska, right? Maybe there's like an esports fever in Alaska that people need to know about because this is not talked about.
Oh yeah, and it's and when it comes to esports in Alaska as a whole, I mean, the gaming scene in Alaska is massive, right? Because it's so cold so often of the year that, especially the youth, when it comes to wintertime, when you're doing outdoor activities, they couldn't even be potentially, I mean, it's cold, right? So
Yep.
you're expelling a lot of energy. You can't really be doing outdoor activities in the winter for that long. You can, snow machine, which is what they call snowmobiling here. You can go skiing, snowboarding, that sort of thing. But a lot of times you're indoors. So gaming is huge, especially in villages as well, outside of Fairbanks and Anchorage. So we are certainly not the only esports program in Alaska. There's also a program at UAA. They don't have a full-time coordinator yet, but the program there is also very strong, and the community there is wonderful. And even outside of that, our partner, which I'll probably talk about some point later as well, GCI, we're on a 10-year partnership with them. They sponsor us. It's a phenomenal relationship. Every year they put on a yearly Counter-Strike tournament, and this year I believe it is a $25,000 prize pool.
Wow.
And that is for people that live in Alaska only. So our team is for sure playing, and it's a complete, invitational event. But it's anyone that's lives in Alaska is invited. So the gaming scene's massive. Even outside of esports, tabletop games, it's all huge here. So it's kind of this whole underground scene that people in the lower 48 don't really know exists.
I love that, and I want to just to hone on this because I think this is such a great conversation.
Mhm.
You have the buy-in from the community, right? What about the actual, like, go specifically the administration, right? The
Oh
dean,
yeah.
the head of, those, anything I've learned from these programs, right? The success of the program comes from that buy-in, right? And
Mhm.
I think it's important to note which ones have that investment from the community, because if so, the question we should be asking is how, right? So if you were able to get your administration, your dean, the people who are, let's be honest, 40, 50, 60 years old, don't think about these things and make that investment in it. I think it's important for the community to understand how they were able to get the schools to realize, hey, this is a real thing. So start there. Is that investment there? And do you have like your dean and head of recruitment showing up and saying, hey, we believe in esports?
Yeah, the amount of support we've gotten in the UAF has been phenomenal, and that has been from the administration. You're completely right. In particular, we've had a lot of support from our Vice Chancellor, Owen Guthrie, and he's been nothing short of incredible. When I first started this position in summer 2022, I kind of took an immediate risk and wanted to not fully focus, but put a lot of resources towards expanding our rosters as much as possible. We had only 3 rosters at the time in 2 games. I wanted to really expand that. And I wanted to do that with the scholarship program. And that was not even a very long meeting when it came to my proposal. I proposed it and they were like, yeah, that sounds wonderful. We fully support this. And off the gate, I immediately had $20,000 in yearly scholarship funds. So I got, to a degree, kind of lucky that we already had administration that really saw the value in esports.
Wow.
I think that for directors and coordinators or even coaches that are at colleges that don't see the value or maybe even still kind of club run, it's important to, one, find what your administration values and two, show how esports accomplishes that, because it probably does. Like, for example, our administration really values what they call transformative experiences. They want students that come into UAF to have some sort of experience or some sort of, passion project or something happen while they're at the university that really affects their life, that they look back at and they're like, that was incredible. So the nature of esports, when it comes to rosters and competitive teams, we can really focus on our body of students, which right now we have around 40 students, and we can really give them an experience, a student life experience, or a collegiate experience that means a lot to them. So by giving them that and something that's modern and is only expanding, the administration kind of saw immediate value when it came to my proposal.
I love that. And I want to touch on something that you've kind of been hinting at, and I know you're excited to talk about it because it's such a benefit of your program, which is scholarships. I would love for you, I'm sure anyone seeing this, right, they're probably listening to this, and like, I didn't know there was a program there, and the first question they're going to have is, okay, what is the scholarship options having? I'd love for you just to take a couple of minutes and discuss what do scholarships look for you guys, right? One, and there's going to be two sides to this. One for obviously students in the area, but what could it look like for someone in a Florida, right, and Kansas, right, who are looking at reading this and like, I didn't think about going to school in Alaska. How can I get help getting out there?
Totally. So I'll first talk on the in-state aspect, just in case there is anyone from Alaska that's watching this. If so, hi. But if you are from Alaska and watching this, there is one immediate option that is for in-state residents only, and that is, again, through GCI, our partner. They offer two $5,000 annual scholarships to Alaska residents that are really, just strong members of our community and our program. So right now, and that is a yearly renewable scholarship. And as long as you stay in the program, stay within the GPA requirements, and, just stay as being an incredible community member, you can renew that every year. And if you're in state, that nearly covers your entire tuition off the gate. Right now, it's our Overwatch captain and our League of Legends captain are the recipients of that scholarship. And I mean, they've been wonderful. In particular, Owen or Azuri, the Overwatch captain, received it as a freshman. And Tucker or 100 Ping Warrior, I love that tag. Our League of Legends captain is a third year. So assuming Tucker continues, once he graduates, that scholarship will be given to another person. So if you're in state, that's already a potential option for you. For out-of-state students, I already touched on the 3.8 GPA scholarship, but I should also touch upon our general esports scholarships. In the past, when our goal was just to bring students on, we had a $1,000 flat rate for 3 of our games. That model's changing. We are instead going to reuse that funds to and that's $20,000 of annual funding. We're going to kind of not recycle, but I guess modify how we're using those funds to help find students that would be a really good fit for our program. And we can go, hey, look, you have a great GPA. You're clearly excited about Alaska. You're a great fit for our program. We want to help you get there. Financially, how can we support outside of what scholarships you're already accomplishing, right? And we can see if we can find essentially a dollar amount that matches both your skill and your financial need. That would make UAF a possibility for you.
Wow. So I just want to make sure I'm hearing this correctly, especially for the students. Like that's a lot, right? How do I quantify what I just heard? So really, you're saying if I'm listening to this, right, I'm most likely not going to be in Alaska, but I'm like, hey, this is an option. I didn't know about that. Are you saying that by having that appropriate good GPA, by being a good esports student, right, and having that drive, a student can save up to, what are you saying, like $20,000 to be able to go to school? Totally. Or wow, and compared to what will that average price be? Or are you saying hey, go ahead?
Oh no, yeah, I was gonna say, I want to say, off the top of my head, I believe the average out-of-state cost is about $23,000.
Wow.
So if you have a phenomenal GPA, you're coming in with a 3.8 or higher, or you're going to maintain a 3.8 or higher if you're an incoming freshman, that's already, nearly cutting that in half. I want to say it's a $10,000 scholarship. And right now we have $20,000 of annual funds for that general esports scholarship. And, we wouldn't be awarding that full $20,000 to one particular student, but that is scholarship money to be used to help students that need that push. to make UAF a strong, financial, opportunity for them, something that's financially affordable. That's what it's there for. So we will do what we can to make that an option for you. I think that
that's amazing.
even if you're coming in as out of state, I think 23,000 on its own is quite a decently low price compared to a lot of colleges.
Yep.
And I mean, you factor in that first academic scholarship and then esports. I mean, you're getting the opportunity to come to Alaska and get a strong degree while it being completely financially reasonable.
That is making an investment in the esports community. That is it for me, right? For people hearing this, right, that if you have the grades and you have the skill set, to me, this is how scholarships should look at majority of universities, right? I think this is a good future play, right? And that investment is there. And if I'm a student, I want to go to a university that actually wants to invest in those students. So I really wanted to hammer on that because it's rare, right? And not only that, for you, we actually run in working with a sport, and we run into a lot of students actually in that position. They're doing very, very good academic wise, right? They're already the best at whatever region they are in their game, right? So if more programs held that model, their growth internationally would be crazy, right? So that's awesome, Drake. I want to move on into a question that's really a value for the people who are going to be watching this, right? Because I remember when I was going and looking up a lot of these interviews with directors, and let's be honest, a lot of the people watching these are going to be new directors who are trying to get their feet wet. I remember you probably did it, looked up every single director interview and what they're doing and how their process was, right? I know a lot of the people watching these are going to come from the very beginning, and I try to put myself there. One of the first questions I would have as a recruiter is how actually to recruit, right? Like, people can talk about these big ideas and like you should do, these big ideas, but like, okay, so are you using social media and how you're using them, right? So my question to you directly, Drake, is what role does technology and social media play in your recruitment efforts? And I'd love for you to be detailed. Like, if you're using Instagram, how are you using it? How are you following that? Or maybe for you, social media isn't as big because you're not able to find these students. I think for a new person, I would love to know what social media I should be on, what websites I need to be on, and how I'm using social media.
Totally. And I think the first thing that I would say is that especially if you're a new director watching this, keep in mind what social media is popular where you live. And I think a lot in the lower 48, that's going to be pretty standard across the board. The first thing I noticed when I moved to Alaska is that no one uses Twitter or X. It is, I mean, people use it, but it is much less commonly used up here than Facebook and Instagram. So I was like, okay, we tried a little bit to target Twitter and X, but a lot of your initial follower count is going to be from people in state that's already supporting a university. And because so few people use Twitter and X here, we weren't able to really get that initial boost on there. So we pivoted and we found a lot of success on Instagram in particular. So if you're watching this, follow us on Instagram at Alaska_esports. That is our primary social media platform. And we have prospective students that contact on Instagram all the time. That's run by our marketing manager. He forwards it all to me. And it gives me the opportunity to immediately get in contact with prospective students. We also have a public-facing website that has all of my contact information, and I've gotten a lot of contacting from there as well. But social media is a big deal. I mean, I think it doesn't even need to be said how important it is. You just need to find the right platforms for you and your program. So for us, it was Instagram. For a lot of programs, I know it's Twitter or X. Facebook is popular in state for Alaska, but I know a lot of youth don't really use it in the lower 48. So when we do use Facebook, it's traditionally to target parents. So just keep in mind of what's useful for you. But Instagram for sure, a big one. You can follow us there.
Yeah, and a good advice you would give, and this is something I've ran into just mentoring directors my own self. And when I was working for a program, it was one of the first issues that we ran into is social media means bandwidth, right? Yep. Running a social media account means you got to have someone running the social media account, right? You got to have someone posting and not only posting, staying consecutive, right? Every program has an Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, but let's be honest, Drake, me and you could probably count on two hands which ones are actually good about posting consistently, right? And it's because it's hard, right? Most of these people don't realize you have a director who has to become a jack of all trades, right? They're an administration expert, they're a competition expert, they're a teacher, right? And all the time now they're a social media marketing person, Right. And I know that's for a new director. I know that that's going to be the first daunting task. And I run into this all with new directors. And I tell them, hey, you need to be on social media. And they're trying to figure out from a bandwidth how to make that happen. Can you just talk a little bit from your personal experiences, Drake? How do you manage posting on social media? Maybe that's bringing in an intern. Maybe that's different ideas on you do. Like, what would you tell a new director? Things that he could do to keep up on content, but still doing his director responsibilities.
Totally. That's a great question. And I'll start off by saying what we do and then advice I would have for directors on that. What we do is I delegate it. I do have a student staff that does, he does a lot. Jesse's wonderful. He is our stream manager. So, he does our streams and our broadcasts, and he does our marketing, and that includes social media. So we have a student staff member that will do Instagram posts. We'll check Instagram DMs. We'll keep active tabs on that and do the marketing through there. I'm very lucky to have a budget that allows me to have a student intern that I can delegate that work towards. Excuse me. If you're a director that does have the resources to do that, do it. Truthfully, the more you can reasonably delegate to students, to student staff, as it's very important that you don't overwork them. You need to be treating your student staff well. But if you'd be giving them a job where it is assumably a passion for them, and they're going to learn a lot. So if you have the bandwidth to be able to delegate that to a student, delegate it to a student. If you don't, if you're in a smaller program and you're like, okay, it's just me, I need to figure this out. The biggest thing is do not spread yourself too thin. Yep. I remember when I first started this position, and it was because, I just finished undergrad and I was so hungry to make like a difference, make a change. I knew how hard it was to get your foot in the door in this industry. And I was like, I cannot let this go to waste. Right. So I immediately put everything into it. And I don't regret that. I mean, it made a lot of change for the program. But ultimately, you're going to face burnout and it's not going to be sustainable. The 50, 55-hour weeks allowed me to do a lot for the program, but it gets to a point where it's like, I can't keep working at this pace, right? So you need to be cognizant of that. If you are very spread thin, do what you can, but don't be hard on yourself if you're dropping the ball on something, right? That's going to happen. When it comes to social media, if you are in that situation, I would focus on one platform only. In particular, it's probably going to be Twitter or Instagram. See which one you think would get the most traction, and just focus on that. You don't need to be doing obviously daily, a couple times a week posts or memes or things to get your account out there is phenomenal. Game updates, things like that. That's wonderful. But if you are spread thin like that, keep it on the important stuff. It's that's what I'd say on that, is that don't do too many extras if you're spread thin like that, because it's not going to be sustainable for you.
Yep. And being able to stay sustainable, I think that longevity, right? Put yourself you want to be there for 5 years. It's not going to work out in a year or two. I want to add so important about this, and this is my own personal advice. I just see this happens so much, and it almost blows my mind. People aren't taking advantage of this more. Every director within a university is literally within a pool of talent. And what they do mistakenly is they assume that pool of talent only exists within their esports ecosystem. They don't sit there and think, wait, I have a whole entire marketing program of not hundreds of students a lot of the times within this marketing degree, right? I have people who are video editors who are taking school for video editing. And one thing my program that I went to actually was really good about was pooling, right? That's something Mike Aguilar is really good at, as pooling from the other programs, right? So one thing I say, I hear this all the time from a director, and it's like, yeah, I tried that. I couldn't find anyone interested in posting on our social media. Have you went to the marketing program that has an enrollment of 115 students and talked to all 5 of those marketing teachers and said, hey, I'll offer one of your students an internship and they get to post about video games? Guarantee if you really try, you'll find that person, right? Oh, yeah. So it's the idea of you have to go, but you have this, you're in this incubator of talent, and they make this mistake of just pigeonholing themselves inside their own program. And I think any director should always be thinking, man, how can I get the exercise science people in on this? How can I get the anthropology? I don't care how crazy it sounds. How can I get the health psychology and the child education people on this, right? They could
Mhm.
be the people who are going to be teaching middle schoolers could be in on this, right? That's where you're going to find it, right? The people who are learning video editing, right? It's important to reach out beyond just that circle you're in. I'm sure you agree with me on that, Drake.
Yeah, 100%. There's so much opportunity out there for university that is beyond esports that like you probably don't even know about. And I'll add to that real quick and say that when it comes to finding those folks, again, even if you don't have the ability to hire these students yourself, there's a good chance that your university already has a marketing team. So what I will do sometimes is I have a good relationship with our UAF photographer and those folks in general. I'll go, hey, we're doing this event on this date. You should come by. It's going to be great material. And he'll come by, he'll take photos, and he'll post it on UAF socials. And that's a way to market our program to where I've delegated it and I'm not paying anyone to do it. It's because it's valuable to them too. So there's a lot of ways to partner with departments at your university that will provide a lot of value to both of you, and you just have to find them.
Yes, no, that's so important. I really want to ask another important question too. I know we're running low on time here. I want to
Mhm.
ask about metrics, right? Because at the end of the day, I think this is business, right? And we all need every director, right? Because they're there to fulfill a job. This is great and it's fun and this is a dream come true. But we're there to do a job, right? And at the end of the day, an esports program is meant to bring more people into the university. I think I never want that to get muddied in the university system. That esports and gaming will become before education. That the esports is just a mechanism, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is a
Yeah.
mechanism to increase recruitment, increase enrollment for the university, right? So at the end of the day, the most important metrics for an esports program shouldn't be we're the best program in the world. It should be because think about that. That's how you don't have the we're not talking about a professional esports team. We're talking about an
Mhm.
scholastic esports program. And if it's not bringing more people in, you could have the best team in the world and you only have 5 people every year. That's going to be an issue. Does that make sense? And one thing that we know is that success is dependent on how the administration is viewing it, right? So one
Mhm.
thing that's important to note is I think there should be more research done on what is considered success to the administration, right? So I asked Ohio State, I asked Oklahoma, I asked Florida, what would your university consider successful? Right. So for
Mhm.
you, Drake, when you looking at successful metrics and then you're going to your university and you're saying you guys need to compete. You guys need to continue to invest in this program because we were able to do this. What are those important metrics? And I know first people was thinking is students, but is it really that simple? Is it really that Fairbanks wants you to go from we have 10, now we have 15, now we have 20, and that's it?
That's a phenomenal question, and I want to start by saying I know I don't have much time. I That is maybe one of the topics I feel the most strongly about when it comes to collegiate esports, and I could not agree more with everything you just said. I think that I mean, we're most directors started as competitors themselves. We want to win. We want our students to win. That is not why we're here. It's for us to give brilliant students the ability to have an extracurricular that really means a lot to them, that can transform their college experience. And that's why we recruit for esports, because a lot of these competitors are brilliant. We are bringing on strong students that can represent the university well and make a lot of positive impact at our university. So when it comes to how we view success, how the administration view success, I'll start off by saying that if anyone watching this is like a director or an already competitor that knows of like NACE, for example, we do not compete in Varsity Premier. All of our teams are in Varsity Plus, which to me is totally fine. If our teams hit the skill level that they join Varsity Premier, that's awesome. That's incredible for them. But I am not like I need to bring on all the best, top 500 SSL Rocket League players I can,
Hmm.
right? I mean, that's amazing if they're that good at the game, but there's a lot more I care about than just that. And there's a lot more that the administration cares about too. If we can bring on students that are really strong academically, have really brilliant and strong personalities, are going to add a lot to the university culture, that to us is a huge win. We had a student last fall that was from Finland, and we lucked out because he didn't even know there was a program. He was coming to UAF anyways. But he ended up being a very strong Counter-Strike player, decided he wanted to try Valorant, was good enough to join the roster, and the impact was immediate. It's our program was better off because he played for us. UAF was better off that he was there. He was just a vibrant part of the community. Everyone knew him, which is it's hard because it's UAF's there's thousands of students, right? If you're able to bring on those kinds of students, that is success to me. Quantity certainly matters. You want to bring on students, that's where revenue comes in. But I want students that can really make an impact on the college and can open themselves up to have an opportunity that makes an impact on their lives.
Drake, no, that's so, I could definitely tell you live this by your responses. And at the end here, I definitely want to get you the time to just plug your program, right? And I think what's so important in a way, I would love for you to answer this, right? Because when you think about, okay, what is UAF, right? What are you guys playing? Who are you guys with? Whether it's NECC, NACE, all that stuff people can figure out who's on the team, right? I would love for you to talk about it from a personal aspect, right? Because for me, if I'm joining a program, I'm going to be underneath this director, right? And I need to know who this person is, right? So I'd love for you to obviously do that plug. Talk about UAF. Talk about if this is a student watching this or just interested in going, what do they need to do? Where should they contact you? But I think for first is why your university and why you, right? Like why are you, they're trusting you, right? Why should they come and work with a program like you? And what is it that you can offer them?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. I think just like anyone, I love talking about myself. So that's wonderful. My name's Drake. I am originally from the East Coast. I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina. I got my undergrad from Rochester Institute of Technology up in upstate New York. My background when it comes to games is FGC. So that's fully my background. I did a little bit of FPS. But when I was in undergrad, in all of my free time, what I did was esports event running and community building. That was my passion. Every single Friday, I was in RIT Smash Club from 6 p.m. to 2 in the morning, putting on events for students, fostering an inclusive community, and really trying to grow a game that I cared a lot about, which was a small fighting game called Rivals of Aether. That was my background. I put my all into that, and I learned a lot in the process. So when it came to UAF, what they were looking for was someone that could grow a community, an inclusive community for all students, that can balance, having competitive rosters and having an existing public program that just puts on fun student life events for the whole Fairbanks community, right? So it ended up being a perfect fit because what they were looking for was my background. And it still absolutely rings true into what we're doing now at UAF. We didn't touch on too much, but we also have a public-facing esports center that's open to the entire student body. We put on events for them constantly. We're putting on a Smash Bros event later today. We're putting on a sci-fi themed event at the end of the month, and then we're putting on a massive racing game event later on in April, right? So we have a lot going on all aspects, and I think it gives a big sense of community that you don't necessarily always get when it is just a department that's under athletics, right? Because a lot of times these teams will be decently separated from each other. But a lot of these people that are on our teams also come to these events. They're also active in these friend groups and sub-communities. It's very much a family kind of vibe with what we do here, which is great. I wouldn't want it any other way. So I think for anyone that's looking for not just a place to really kind of build on their passion and represent a university, but is also just looking for that kind of community, UAF, I think, is a forefront of that. When it comes to if you want to find me, I don't do social media myself, but I plugged the Alaska Esports Instagram already. But again, that is Alaska_esports. If you are interested in UAF, please email me at dwrichards2@alaska.edu. If you look us up online, you'll find the email there too. I read every email I get, and I value it a lot when students reach out to me. I think that means a lot. You can also find me on Discord at GAZE_. Contact me there too, wherever you seem best. But yeah, I want to talk to any student that is interested in our program. So please reach out to me, and I look forward to hearing from you guys.
Drake, I appreciate you so much, and this is so awesome. I always like seeing the passion, and the last thing I want to leave in, and just unfortunately, it's a huge part of a program. It just wasn't our topic, but I think it's so. I just want to leave this with the people. It's so important to find a director who is passionate, because you have to understand you are a student first, and a director who is passionate is going to understand that and support that first, and at the same time have the bandwidth and the care and the courage to create a great opportunity or competition experience. right? And it's going to be hard to find a place that's going to give you both, right? And you're going to notice it. It's weird. It's not going to be through the administrator. It's going to be something that the director provides. It's going to be something that he builds that experience, right? So if I'm a student, I want to look for someone like Drake who can guide me not only as a esports player, but also as a student at the university, because I say this because it's honestly truth and people shouldn't beat around this bush. Most of the people who are going to be participating in these collegiate programs are not going to become the next clicks, right? And the next professional esports player. They're going to go off to get amazing jobs, amazing careers, make great money, and gaming and esports is just going to be an awesome thing that they do. Right. So that's something we want to do. So Drake, it's awesome. It's very, very awesome to take the time to chat with you. You guys can always find Drake, right? If you just simply search University of Alaska Fairbanks Esports on Google, you can find his contact information. Also, as well as when it comes to being recruited, and as anyone knows is listening to this, right? It is a process, right? You have to deal with the administration aspect of going through the test, going through, right, talking to the administration, and then also connecting with Drake and being placed, right? That's what we do at Esportian. So with Esportian, right, we handle that process, not even just making it easy for someone like Drake, who now doesn't have to go back and forth with his administration, making it easier for you as a student who's looking at not only what could the option be at a school like Drake's, but 5 other schools. Right. So just a note for you guys, that's what we do. We hold your hand to that entire process. So if that's something you guys are interested in doing, please just reach out to us. I appreciate everyone for taking some time to listen again, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you, Drake.
Thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate it.